Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Tonight, two stories that go to the heart of Nigeria's biggest anxieties right now: security and survival, and then there is taxation and trust. In Niger State, a trail of blood and ashes, entire communities terrorized, the market razed, and there were reporting dozens executed in cold blood, all while bandits reportedly moved freely across state borders for days. Then the economy, a sweeping new tax reform hailed as progressive, yet feared by households and businesses already stretched thin. Can Nigeria tax more without breaking trust or livelihoods? We begin tonight where fear is most raw. Kasuwan Daji in Niger State. For nearly a week now, heavily armed bandits reportedly roamed parts of Niger and Kebbi states, killing, burning, and abducting without confrontation. In Kasuwan Daji alone, 42 men were killed, tied up and executed, markets burned, and also women and children taken. Survivors fled into the bush. Our correspondent in Niger State, Chineme Bamae, has been following developments closely. He joins me now on the show. Chineme, based on what you've gathered, how coordinated were these attacks, and what does the movement of about 30 motorcycles across multiple villages tell us about the kind of organization behind this operation?
Hi, Nifemi. It's good to join you tonight again on Beyond the Headlines and just to discuss this unfortunate incident. Like you correctly asked, it shows a lot of coordination. You know, when you have large movements of motorcycles like that, it's impossible for it to go unnoticed. And well, this has been the usual routine of bandits. This form of movement is not new at all. You know, every time that you hear of bandit attacks, they usually move in this company or even in a larger convoy. Then they go as far as 50 motorbikes, 3 person on each bike, and then it tells you the kind of firepower that they can pull through every time they ride like this together. And so it cannot go unnoticed. It just tells you that there are quite some issues with security, or it further exposes, right, the loopholes in our security system, which is why this kind of raid could happen. If you remember, just a couple of probably just last month, when the kids were kidnapped from Papiri in that same axis in Aguara, because this happens in the same community, in the same local government. Kasuwan Daji is in Aguara local government, and Papiri is also in the same local government. If you remember, the same way that the bandits picked those children, those terrorists actually, it was still in the same way. They came with large number of motorcycles. Then they were able to transport over 300 people in buses. So it cannot go unnoticed. So I mean, it's a good place to beg for answers on how these things were carried out, and it was quite coordinated. That's the very least that I can say.
I'm looking at a statement now by Father Matthew Kabirat, who's Director of Social Communications, Catholic Diocese of Kotangura. According to this statement, these attackers reportedly moved freely between Niger and Kebbi states for days, even crossing through villages and burning a police station without resistance. Where were security forces during this period, and what explains this glaring response gap?
Well, you would have thought that after the Papiri children abduction, more security would have been, security reinforcement rather would have been sent to that area. And when we spoke to the authorities at that time, they said, of course, the security personnel were moved into the bush, combing the bush to be able to recover those children. But right now we're seeing the gaps in that system already, because like you said, police outpost was set ablaze, and we know that Niger State is very big. We cannot overemphasize that, and the number of security personnel that you have working in this state is quite very low. No matter the number that you provide, you cannot put boots in every local government. You can't put enough boots on the ground in every local government area, which is why things like intelligence gathering and working with intelligence must be at the front burner. So all of these people move. These attacks happen between 28th of December and and 3rd of January. So for close to 4 to 5 days, these people were moving through villages. If there was some form of intelligence and some actions were taken based on those intelligence, these people should have been stopped. But they had the free day to go on rampage, and killings the sporadic killings that we saw that we're seeing right now is the aftermath of it all.
The killings in Kasuwan Daji appear to stand out for their brutality, victims tied up and executed. We're hearing that both Christians and Muslims were targeted. But precisely what are locals saying about why this particular village and market were singled out?
All right. First, the locals are scared. They're scared for their lives right now, and they're asking for security reinforcement. But why is this place singled out? Now, we cannot help but talk about the Kainji National Park that I've been talking about all day. I've been talking about all day. The Kainji National Park sits on about 5,341 square kilometers of land. It is very, 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 very large. It was actually two national parks that wildlife parks that were combined to make that particular park. And you have a fishing zone there, you have wildlife park, and then it's just very big. And this place is largely ungoverned. You don't have security people combing that area, and so this place becomes a hideout, or it has become actually a hideout for these terrorists. So while we are seeing increased security operations in the northwest part of Nigeria, like Sokoto, with the recent missile strikes, from the United States, and the terrorists are beginning to flee. And as they are fleeing, they are going through areas where they feel they have advantage. And this forest is one of those areas that they consider to have advantage. Apart from the Kasuwan Daji killing, there was also killings in a particular village called Kawai. That village borders Kebbi State. So it was easy for the terrorists to move in between these states and carry out these nefarious killings. So until the issue of putting adequate security in that forest is taken care of, we might keep having bandits hiding in this forest. It's actually very big. I keep saying that the Sambisa forest that is an issue of concern for most Nigerians, it's only 513 kilometers square. And I'm saying this one is over 5,000. So it just paints a picture of how big this place is for you and how difficult it will be to govern.
Chenami, what do you make of the growing concern about a possible connection between these recent attacks and the abduction of hundreds of school children last year in Papiri, especially since no arrests were made, because that became a talking point, that what actually happened between government and the abductors to have gotten those school children back without a single arrest made. From your findings, is there evidence or strong suspicion that the same network or hideouts were involved?
Well, based on the information that we have, and based on the things that I know, this recent killing is not unconnected with the abduction of those children, because, like you rightly said, there was no arrest that was made. We didn't hear that anybody was killed or some form of gun duel happened between the security forces and the non-state actors, which tells you that maybe some form of negotiations, was entered into. And this recent killing just tells you that the negotiation failed woefully. It failed completely, because whatever that gave these bandits or terrorists the guts to attack again, it tells you that that the bargain that they put on the table was not strong enough. That's the least that we can say. So it's not unconnected actually, because right now, based on recent information, we're hearing that some of the children that were abducted and released just about 14 days ago may have been abducted again, because the village there's so much scare in the village right now. Any sound of gun or any sound of uncertainty, people run into the bush. And so right now, some of those children have been kidnapped. We have local authorities saying that some of those children have been kidnapped again, and then it just brings back a lot of trauma. So I'm largely saying that these terrorists are not unconnected with the ones that operated recently.
Children who were recently freed have now been kidnapped again. Some of them, we hear, are hiding in the bush with their families. You can imagine how deep this humanitarian and psychological toll is in these communities right now. We have to go now, Chenemi, but quickly, the attackers are said to be operating from hideouts inside the Kenji Game Reserve. Is it the size again? Why has this area remained such a safe haven for bandits despite repeated attacks linked to it?
Femi, I think it's the size. Like I said, it's over 5,000 kilometers square. You know, area that reserve is sitting on. It's the size, and what I'm saying is not unconnected from the plea of even the governor of Niger State. I spoke to him, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, and he made a passionate plea that that reserve should be cleared out. You know, or some form of use should be provided for that reserve, and even not just even the governor, even the emir of Bodgo, the last time I visited that place, he also made the same appeal that that reserve that used to be a source of tourist attraction is now a source of security concerns for the people. It's now bringing problems for them, so until some form of surveillance should be carried out in that place. There is an air force base in Kainji, which provides a landing space for the Air Force, and I'm sure it was because of reserve like that they had to situate that Air Force base. It has been there for a very long time. I think it's time to put all of those facilities into use right now to ensure that that forest is properly guarded. If not, the
Lieutenant
days for
Bame,
for, for ending this thing is not near yet. Yeah.
good place to leave it. Thank you for those insights.